All right. All right, you guys, I'm trying to I'm trying to get this together so that I can get this started and invite Ava back on. Just give me 1 second, y'all. Live is always so tricky for some reason. All right, Ava, give me 1 second. Let me just pin this and then I'll add you.
Okay. Can you see me?
Cool. Yes, I can see you.
Woohoo.
Awesome.
Got it.
Great. All right, so my name is Khristina Williams. I'm the founder of Girls Talk Sports TV, and I'm here with USC journalism student Ava Brand. So if you've been paying attention to our Instagram stories today, Ava has been taken over on Instagram, and it's all a part of her final project for her journalism course. And so super excited because we're going to switch gears. Ava's going to interview me. As part of her final project. And so I'm super excited, always exciting to see, journalism students and yeah, let's get started. So you take it over.
Thank you so much for letting me do this. It's been a blast so far. Hope everyone's loving the content. So my first question right off the bat is just what inspired you to start Girls Talk Sports TV and what was kind of the motivation behind this account?
Yes, so I always get this question. So the motivation for me to start Girls Talk Sports TV stemmed from my passion for sports and storytelling. Grew up playing sports, basketball, obviously, but also storytelling. My involvement with storytelling has always evolved over the years. So growing up, I was like a theater kid, loved painting, drawing, that sort of thing, studied visual arts. And then once I got to college, I was like, okay, how can I like make a living out of storytelling? So I ended up double majoring in school. I studied theater because I was a theater kid, loved theater, loved performing. But then I also studied journalism. And so right out of school, ended up getting a job at a marketing company, one of the top marketing companies. But, it was a great job, great working in corporate. But I felt like I knew that it wasn't what I wanted to do. Especially not for the rest of my life. And so I always had the urge to get back into sports or create something that would marry all of my passions together. And so it was really hard for me to break into the sports industry on my own. And so I ended up starting Girls Talk Sports TV as a way for me to kind of get more comfortable in the space and create kind of my own niche in the industry, but also to get back to my two loves, which is sports and storytelling. And so that's pretty much the story about how I created this platform. I remember I started it after failing with another project like 2 weeks prior. Like I wanted to launch a basketball league here in New York, and it ended up not happening. And so failing to success, right? That didn't work out, and then just came up with the next best thing. And I remember right when the idea came for me for Girls Talk Sports TV, it was like 6 a.m. New York time. And I texted all of my friends who at the time lived in LA, and I was like, I had this crazy idea, waking them up. It's like 3 a.m. in LA. And they actually listened to my crazy idea. And I just went for it. And so, that's the story.
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard a quote this year, actually in this class. It's when you hear no, it means new opportunity. And that's what reminded me when you said you had another idea that failed beforehand, but I like how it didn't stop you. You kept going. And it's really paid off. I mean, in just a little over 3 years, you've become one of the hot spots for WNBA news across the league. I mean, you've posted today a few times already, the Liberty are parting ways with their coach. So what's it been like seeing the growth of your account in a relatively short amount of time?
Oh, actually, a funny story. I had to restart this account. So this is not even the original account that I started back when I started Girls Talk Sports TV. The first account had got deleted back in 2019, and so I had to restart it up. So again, failing to success. I remember freaking out when my account got deleted by Instagram, and I was like, you know what, maybe this is a chance to restart fresh. And it was. And so prior to that, I was behind my brand. I had other women in front of my brand, right? And so I had several reporters on Girls Talk Sports TV, and it was great, like, helping other women get forward. But I felt like I'm a very spiritual person, so I felt like God was tugging at me and saying, no, you need to be at the forefront of your brand. You need to like make your mission known, and that is to give women a voice, visibility, and value in the sports industry. And so when I came in front of my brand in 2019, it just gave me a really a great opportunity to just restart from fresh. And so seeing the growth from, I want to say 2019 to now has been crazy. But I wasn't able to do it without consistency, without the fans and supporters as well. They've been a huge part, and just creating content that's been authentic and engaging. I feel like, there's a lot of sports accounts out there, but I feel like I'm one of those sports accounts who puts fans first, and just make it important to give a space where athletes feel comfortable to talk. And so just building those relationships, becoming one of the trusted sources within this industry has been dope, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it. It seems like you're having a great time, and your posts are awesome. Put the fans and the athlete first, which is, I think, one of the best things you can do as a sports journalist. And your work is clearly paying off. I mean, this year you were named to the Forbes 30 under 30 list for sports. So what was that like? I mean, that's just insane.
Oh, no, I'm just playing. Being named to the Forbes 30 under 30, it just really put things into perspective for me. This time last year, when I found out I was on the list, because they usually announce it kind of like the month before the new year. I remember being in a really rough spot in my life. Like, I don't know if this is for me. Like, I don't know if people like appreciate the work that I'm doing. I was actually ready to give up. And then December 1 hit, and my friend Dorothy Gentry, who's a WNBA reporter, she texted me and she was like, "You made Forbes under 30." And I was like, well, what? Did they get it wrong? Like,
no,
my name was really on that list. And so I just remember that moment of just taking a breath of fresh air, I guess. It just really kind of put things in perspective to me that the work that I'm doing is bigger than myself, number one. Number two, just to keep going, even when you feel like, what you're doing is not paying off in the short term. In the long term, it'll pay off. And my friend Jada, she says something to me almost every day. She always says, she says microwave success versus success that bakes in the oven. And she's like, you have that success that's baking in the oven, not that instant
I like that
microwave success, So shout out to Jada, who's probably on here listening. But, just keeping a group of supportive people around me and stuff. But really, I'm just a girl from Harlem, New York. And so predominantly Black neighborhood in upper west of Manhattan, just where I came from. And to be able to make the Forbes under 30, that means so much for my community, because it can inspire those who came from where I came from to, go after their dreams. But also as an independent media reporter in a major league sport, to be able to make that list among some of the greats who was also named to that list. I think that it puts in perspective the shift that's happening in women's sports media, that independent media is just as important as the big companies as well, that we are making a way, especially in women's sports. And so I think that that's what it meant for me to make that Forbes under 30. It was bigger than myself, but it also put things in perspective for me to understand that, the work that I'm doing means something, that people are paying attention. I'm seen,
Yeah, it's baking in the oven. And
it's baking in the
great.
oven. Not that microwave success, okay?
No.
Great things take time.
Yes, and it's worth it. More rewarding. Yeah. So kind of going off of that, you briefly touched on, being from Harlem. What's it kind of been your experience working as a woman and a Black woman in like the sports media industry, where usually the biggest voices are from white males?
Oh, I get this question a lot. Yeah, I mean, a good friend of mine says that, the sports industry is male saturated, not necessarily male dominated. I feel like, especially within this industry, women are changing the game. We are the future of women's sports media. And so while it may be male saturated, the women are killing it in this space. But just to answer your question, I mean, as a Black woman, I mean, coming in, people already, they have, you know, their thoughts about you. uh, Getting access may be hard. And so that's why you have to build those necessary relationships in the industry and also be consistent. And for me, you know, I also had a background in fashion reporting, so I already knew the stigmas and the microaggressions that came from that industry. So
Mm-hmm.
coming into the sports industry, it didn't really bother me much. I mean, being from Harlem, New York is a very diverse place. New York will make you tough growing up here. And so while, you know, while those things were counted against me when I came into the industry, I didn't let it break me. I just used it as motivation and fuel to keep going. And so where people denied me access, I kept showing up. I'm showing up to every community event, every basketball game, any and everything that I can get my hands on. I'm showing up to prove to them that I belong in the space. And so that's exactly what I did. And that's how I started, just building hands on within my local community, showing up to open runs in New York City, playing in open runs with some of my homegirls, coaching youth girls basketball here in New York City. Like I said, just showing up to charity events, community events, just showing up. And people would say, yo, I always see you and your crew everywhere. Like, how are you everywhere? And, you know, it all made sense because then, you know, going to those events and building my local community and building a community, which is like the gist of everything, build your community first. That helped me to unlock access to, you know, major sporting events and just really get my feet going in this industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, your commitment is just admirable, really, and how much you've been like constant without this and steady. But kind of on that note, do you think that it's that much harder for women to get their foot in the door, just with the way that, like you said, this injury is just oversaturated with white males right now? Obviously, we see that changing, but currently, do you kind of see that like women have to work just a little bit harder just to have like their opinions validated equally, or just have the equal respect from the media?
I think that women have to work a little bit harder, yes. But the good thing about that is now we see there are changes in hirings and front office positions. And so now when women are in those positions, they can help bring up other women with them. Or they can do things like I'm doing now with you, where we're helping the next, like college students, get into sports reporting or just
Yes.
experience it, you know? And so I think that as women, that's our responsibility, is that when we get to where we want to go or we hit those goals, we reach back and help those behind us. And I feel like that is happening within this industry. I have a core group of people, mentors, people that I look up to that also, you know, say my name in rooms that I'm not in, you know, or you know, just help me in any kind of way that they can. And so I think that that's why things are starting to change. Is Are we
Mm-hmm.
there yet? No, we have not arrived yet. You know, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but I think that it's crucial that when we reach a certain level of success, that we then reach back and help other people as well.
Yes, for sure. And I think personally, I've worked within a lot of different communities, and I think like the sports, women in sports media have to be one of the most supportive communities I've ever been a part of. It's just
Absolutely.
awesome. The girls are, I mean, thank you. You're doing this for me, so thank you so much. It's just little things like this that really go a long way and help inspire more girls and women across the country to pursue their dreams, which is amazing.
Absolutely. Because we can't do it alone, right? Like,
No.
although I am independent and an independent sports person within this industry, you know, there are people and women who have helped me along the way. When I first got started, I reached back to some of the people I went to college with, like some people who were in my media classes, my friend Marjorie, Ari Chambers, Kelly Loftus, just the names can keep rolling off my tongue. There's a core group of people that help me to make my brand what it is. You know, you may see me at the forefront, but behind the scenes, you know, there's a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
You know, we can't do any of this alone, you know, and so it's always important to have, you know, those core groups of people there with you to help you.
Yes, for sure. So how do you think, just as a society kind of in general, we can still make women reporting on sports more of a, not necessarily a norm, but more common and less of a, oh my gosh, this girl's doing this, that's awesome. More of just like a, that's awesome, obviously, but it's not as like crazy when we see it happening.
we create our own platforms like this. We find a solution to the problem. We be the change that we want to see. For me, that was important in starting Girls Talk Sports TV, because less than 2% of all sports reporters and newsrooms are Black women. And so it was very important for me to see a representation of myself within that, or be that for someone else. And so you can create your own platforms. You know, for it to be the norm and not the exception, you have to hire diverse staff in those front office positions, in those HR positions, whoever's responsible. Hire women, invest in women, pay women what they're worth, cover women's sports equitably, if that's a word, just the same way we cover men's sports. I mean, I know that when I first started Girls Talk Sports TV, I was following a lot of NBA accounts. I loved all the NBA accounts because I didn't really see any women's sports accounts. And so that's what I modeled kind of how I started my account. I was like, yo, like League Alerts, shout out to League Alerts, Sideline Sources, Purse Sources. These are all accounts that I now work with cross-branding my content, right? But the relationship started where I was already a fan of their work and following their pages. And then when it was time for me to create my own page, reached out to them to help me, you know, kind of strategize on how I can create a page where the WNBA players are receiving the same amount of coverage as the NBA. And
Yeah.
so, and you know, and that's how it started. So, yeah.
Yeah, and kind of going off that, for the people out there who kind of try to make the argument that, oh, women's sports like shouldn't get as much coverage because like they don't bring in as much money as the men's sports, things like that. What do you kind of want to like have to say to those people? Like, I mean, obviously these athletes are still doing insane stuff, especially on the court for the WNBA, and they deserve to be covered equally. So what do you have to say to those people?
Adapt or get left behind. Women are the future.
I
Literally,
like that.
like, if you're not getting with the program, you're going to feel sorry for it later. Like, you know, we matter, our voices matter, what we have to offer this industry, you know, is very valuable. And so that's what I have to say to them. Adapt or get left behind.
I really like that. Adapt or get left behind. I think it's perfect. So my last final question, just for anyone watching out there who's like me, a budding sports journalist, what's your main piece of advice for someone trying to get into the industry right now?
My main piece of advice for students like you, just get started. You know, don't worry about how many followers you may have or whatever. Just get started. When I started my account, it had 5 followers, like literally 5. And so just get started. You never know what may happen. Be consistent. Network across. When people look to start something, they always want to go to the top first. And it's just like the person to the left or right of you in your classroom could be the one to help you change the world, literally. And that's what I did. I looked to my left. I had Marjorie there with me in my film and media class in college, Miguel to the right and left of me in my film and media class in college. And those are the first 2 people I contacted when I had this idea. It was like, yo, we did documentary media, whatever, in college together. I know you're trying to build your portfolio. Can we work something out? And now Marjorie is a junior producer at an ad agency, and it worked out for her. It worked out for me, and it worked out for her. Like, you know, like just the success terms, like there's been so much success with just networking across. And so just get started. Just get started. That's the main takeaway.
I like it. Thank you so much for doing this. There's one comment I want to point out.
Oh yeah.
Fest 1970 says they ran across your account by accident and now follow women's sports more, especially the WNBA. So that's awesome. You're seeing an impact from your account, which is amazing. I mean, this account is just going to continue to grow. I can see it. And adapt, not change. I like that. I'm going to run with that.
Yes.
So thank you so much for hopping on this live with me and letting me do this takeover. I've had a blast so far, and I'm looking forward to the next few posts we have planned in mind for today. So thank you, Khristina, for doing this. It was great talking to you.
Ava. Thank you, Ava. And I hope the rest of your day goes well. Everyone who's tuning in, Stay tuned to the Girls Talk Sports TV Instagram stories because USC journalism student Ava Brand is taking over Girls Talk Sports TV all day. And I'm super excited about your future in sports as well.
Thank you.
Looking
Maybe
forward
we have
to
a collab in the future.
Of course. You're fam now, Ava. You're fam. Shout out to John W. Davis
Yes,
who made this
Professor
happen.
Davis.
Shout out to John W. Davis. And thank
Professor
you all.
Davis.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ava. And we'll
Thank
chat
you.
next time. All right, y'all.
Yeah. Thank
Later.
you.
Thank you.